welcome back to Foundation of Civilization. I missed last week, which I apologize for, and this past weekend I had lots of fun of having to upgrade some equipment here, and because what's a hobby that you can't spend money on? It just isn't tons of fun, like like a lot of us have. I'm gonna try to pick up some of the stuff that I missed over the past couple weeks. There have been a few events that I thought were very significant that need to be addressed, and I'm gonna skip the markets though because the markets are what the markets are, and you've been able to tell whether they've been up or down quite a bit. Oil, West Texas oil was at $68.28. Ended at the week that at 68.28. Brent North Sea crude ended at $72.16, and the OPEC basket ended at $73.13. Gold broke through the $3,000 barrier, which is actually fairly significant because a lot of people are concerned about the increased price once gold breaks the $3,000 barrier. Although I kind of think a lot of those barriers are psychological, I don't get the sense that they're real. They do have some implications though, and you may see a lot of changes happening across the markets across the world. Silver followed gold also up a little bit at $33.03, and the Baltic Exchange Dry Good Index was at $1,643. It actually ended up a little bit over the past couple of weeks. Tracking aircraft flights, U.S. military aircraft flights, suggests a significant presence that continues over northern Mexico, southern United States, which is actually looking into Mexico. And also, a few weeks ago, I had noted that there was a presence, ISR presence, over the western United States, western mountains, over like Wyoming and Montana. Some people are questioning whether there's a group of people that may be hiding out in the mountains out there. Some people from other mountainous regions. As far as naval deployments go, the USS America was in Sasebo, Japan. The George Washington was in Yokosuka, Japan. The Carl Vinson was participating in exercise Freedom Shield 25 with South Korea. The USS Abraham returned to its home port of San Diego. The Truman was operating in the Red Sea. Last report we had, Nimitz was in Bremerton, Washington. The USS Reagan was underway in the Pacific. The USS Tripoli was at its home port in San Diego. The USS Wasp remained at its port of Norfolk. Interestingly enough, we had this past week 3 departures from Norfolk. The USSH George Washington got underway. The USS George R. Ford departed, and the Iwo Jima also joined those two in departing the naval base at Norfolk. The European markets, the DAX was at 22,891.68. The FTSE was at 8646.79. The CAC was at 8,042.95. The IBEX was at 13,350.20. Probably the most significant event in Europe is that the Heathrow Airport was shut down for about 18 hours after a fire at a local substation cut electricity to the local area, which obviously included the airport. Hundreds of thousands of travelers around the world were impacted by this fire. I'm sure that there will be an investigation into the cause and the maintenance of the area. I know I already heard of some some questions as to why it was not better maintained to address the issues. Now, a couple of weeks ago, one of the significant events that I had missed over the past couple of weeks, a Portuguese flag ship impacted a U.S. flag ship that was delivering fuel for the U.S. Navy. The U.S. flagship was delivering fuel. This was in the Baltic Sea. Both ships were seriously damaged by fire. Crews had to be evacuated, and I believe there were a few casualties. The crew of the Portuguese vessel were Russian. The captain was detained on negligent homicide charges. Now, what makes this incident interesting is that all sides are trying to talk peace, but this incident looks like it was intentional. It may have, I should say, it may have been intentional. If it was, the question becomes: was this captain? Was he taking action of his own volition, or was he being directed somehow? Was this an underhanded effort, a sabotage effort to thwart the U.S. Military in that area? My guess that I'm just going to say that it's possible. I don't have enough information yet to be able to tell you yes or no. In Asia, the Nikkei was at 37,677.06. The SSE index ended at 3,364.83. The Hang Seng index was at 23,689.72. The Sensex was at 76,905.51. And the Nifty 50 was at 23,350.40. In Indonesia, we had a volcano erupt. And previous volcanoes in the area, and Indonesia is a very active volcanic area, the archipelago. And previous Indonesian volcanoes have had significant weather impact for the whole world. And depending on where the volcano is and how powerful it is, it can drop the temperature, world climate, by a few degrees when it spews the ash cloud into the air. In Central Asia, with the arrest of alleged operative of Islamic State Khorasan Province, the governments of Afghanistan and Pakistan are pointing fingers at each other over who is responsible for the violence between the two. For those of you who have not been tracking, China's economy is struggling, and in fact is probably struggling more than the U.S. economy is. This past week, the Chinese leaders ordered banks to boost lending, credit card use, to open up their lending and credit card use for consumers just to be able to spend more. In the U.S., at least in the past, I have not checked it lately, but about 70% of the U.S. economy was consumer spending, and China has struggled. I don't recall what their level of spending is. I'll have to look into it for you, but consumer spending is taking a beating lately, and so the government is trying to open that up more so that their economy can grow. The Syrian civil war continues. Hundreds of civilians have been killed. There have been the new HTS government. It is working with militia groups. They're taking out revenge, and it's not going well for the minority groups, the Alawites, the Christians in Syria. The new government actually appears to be too well organized, and it is likely that Turkey is coordinating with the new government. Germany pledges hundreds of millions to the Syrian regime despite the sectarian massacres that are occurring. Israel broke its peace deal with Gaza, and after they failed to release hostages and started a new bombing campaign. At last report, 400 people had been killed. In the Red Sea, the U.S. continues to strike Houthi targets in Yemen and threatens Iran as the current administration is looking at the Houthis as an extension of Iranian foreign policy. Turkey is looking at some struggles. I expect to hear more from internal problems in Turkey. In Africa, M23 rebels withdrew from Congo peace talks. M23, it's kind of funny. M23 is an extension of the Rwanda government. They are a militia group. They're officially listed as a militia group, but unofficially they do what the Rwandan government wants them to do. And despite Rwanda being a fairly small country and resource poor, they have a fairly big impact in the area. And Congo, unfortunately, is a very large but poorly maintained. Their infrastructure system is not very good. They've got a lot of very open spaces. And because of this, you've got several cities in Congo that essentially operate very independently. Well, the M23 rebels are moving into some of those cities and taking over. Dakar, Senegal, an attack by a jihadi group on a village in western Niger has killed 44 civilians, according to the country's interior ministry. Sudan's army says that it has seized key buildings in Khartoum after retaking the Republican Palace. Sudanese activists say at least 45 are dead in an attack on Darfur City by paramilitary groups. In the Americas, the markets, the Dow Jones average was ended at 42,801.72. The S&P was at 5,770.20. And the NASDAQ ended at 18,196.22. Measuring the Main Street, the average market, seems to be struggling again. They're still. U.S. building permits sink for the third straight month. It's an indicator that people are not feeling comfortable buying homes. In a bit of good news, the astronauts that were stranded on the ISS space station were rescued. They were brought home. I mean, no matter how you look at it, they were on the ISS, on the International Space Station, and they were brought home after the current administration requested help. There have been many college students that are spending their spring breaks in North Carolina. And as I remember, there were spring breaks when I was young. A lot of revelers were enjoying time on the beach. Actually, they were engaging in a bunch of stupidity also. But these college students are not doing that. They're not on the beaches, but they're in the mountains. They are helping families rebuild that have lost their homes or lost a lot of things in Hurricane Helene from last November. Friday, in New Mexico, at a park in Las Cruces, there was a spontaneous car show, and a couple of rival groups got into an altercation. Gunfire erupted. 3 people were killed, 14 people were injured. I don't know how to express this, but we need to settle down, and we need to look out for one another. Secretary of Defense, was able to cut $580 million from the defense budget by ending a few key programs. One of them was a computer program designated to streamline the personnel system. It was originally set to take a year and cost $36 million. It's been delayed for 8 years, and the costs have grown to $280 million. An additional $360 million in grants were halted. And he is probably going to need every dime of it, because also this week, the President and the Secretary of Defense announced the 6th generation fighter, the F-47. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I think that this was just they were trying to get out a bit of good news, trying to divert some attention. So they said, "Hey, let's announce a new fighter." It's the fighter, of course. Fighter development is always ongoing. After they get done with the last one, they start working on the next one. And so, as soon as the F-22 production line was shut down, they already had stuff on the books that they were getting ready to prepare to build and figure out what new technology they needed to develop to support the new systems. So, timing, I'm not sure what they were trying to distract from, or they just wanted to get something out. Some controversy has erupted as the president's advisor, Elon Musk, visited the Pentagon. Rumors were that he was being briefed on secret plans to counter China. Of course, the administration rejected these rumors. Their opponents claim that they're absolutely true, and part of the problem is that as the richest man in the world, the Elon Musk has interest in China. In opposition to Elon Musk's effort to identify government fraud, waste, and abuse, a number of protesters have taken to vandalizing and burning Tesla cars and buildings, dealerships. The president and his admin have vowed to enforce the law and the perpetrators are going to enjoy long jail sentences. Now, nobody's been, well, I won't say nobody's, only a handful of people have been arrested so far, and very few people, nobody's been prosecuted yet, so we'll see exactly what comes of it. And one of the concerns that people have is the deportation of gang members, part of the Trinidad gang members that were sent down to El Salvador. Now, the National Security Advisor said that these gang members are no different than ISIS. I also heard a report this past week that those gang members were imported by the last administration. The last administration pressured the president of Venezuela to open his jails and move those people into this country. This is coming from the president of Venezuela in a speech that he recently made. I find it stunning that something like that could happen. I don't know. I'm beyond words that a sitting president or his administration would demand or request, pressure, whatever you want to say, that a group of essential terrorists would be shipped to the United States. But politics today, I wouldn't put anything past anybody. And I find it stunning that a number of people are just ecstatic to try to keep these people in the country. That's beyond me. I'm happy to see them go. Now, if there are people that are innocent, I'm very sorry, and they need to be able to be heard. However, I trust Tom Homan, who was the last border czar, or the last head of ICE, during the last administration of the current administration. He was also, I find it hilarious because he was also Obama's head of ICE. So, he's done the job for a while. He knows what he's doing. And I encourage him to clean up the country and get rid of the criminals. Now, and I also recognize we need to clean up our immigration system because it is a mess. We need to be able to enforce the laws that we have. Now, that is all that I have for the moment. Again, we have significant things that are going on, and I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that you guys are preparing for the changes that are coming, that are unfolding. I noted this past week that The United States seems to be trying to disengage from Ukraine and Russia. I believe that's because they are trying to engage in the Middle East again. They're trying to set things up as we prepare to fight Iran. This is all it's all very interesting. All as we are also continuing to watch China and its effort to take over Taiwan. Please pay attention to what's happening. The all the wars, the economies, and everything are driven by what happens in the home. And I hope that in your home things are going fairly well. If not, take some time and just be at peace. Learn to be happy with each other. Find something to be happy with your family about. Find something that each child and each family member, each spouse has your spouse has done. Each spouse. Hopefully, you just have one spouse. I know I can only handle one spouse, but find something that your spouse has done good and compliment them on it. I wish you guys all the best luck. I apologize for getting this out late. Like I said, I had to get some new equipment, and I actually really enjoy it. But hopefully things will go well, and one day this will pay off for me. Much love to everybody, and that's it for this week. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys again later this week.